It's now been a few days into Zenless 1.6, and I finally want to give my thoughts on our new electric attacker, Soldier Zero Anby. This character has given me a lot of mixed emotions due to how they play, leaving me conflicted on how I wanted to represent this video for you guys. This is because on one hand I believe the character is really strong, but on the other I'm not so much impressed with what the kid offers. This is honestly the first time I've ever felt this way about a new unit coming into Zenless, and I don't want this video to come off as me trying to hate on the character. I just want to continue to provide you guys my honest thoughts whenever we get new units coming into the game, so I decided to wait a little bit and learn more about the character before I provide you guys my concrete opinion. I've tested her on multiple teams now and in every in-game mode we have available, and after many hours of grinding, I believe this character is great, but also very frustrating. For me, she's a character that leaves a lot to be desired, making her pretty disappointing, which might be a shocker to some of you. To help you understand where I'm coming from, let me explain how she works and provide my opinions on the functionality of her kit and her strength. Soldier Zero Anby is an attacker that's core gimmick is tied to her silver star mark. This mark is applied whenever she lands a basic attack, special attacks, and or her ultimate, granting Anby a 25% damage buff and her team an aftershock crit damage buff that is further increased by 30% of her crit damage. The goal for Anby with this mark is to charge it and build up to 3 white thunder stacks in order to grant her access to Azure flashes that deal electric and aftershock damage to her enemies every time a stack is consumed. This is where majority of Anby's damage is generated, and it's where her strengths and imperfections begin to show. I say this because Anby's gimmick requires her to be on field 99% of the time in order for her to take complete advantage of it. Now the gimmick itself is pretty strong because not only is she buffing her own damage, it's also buffing her ideal teammates that deal aftershock damage as well. My issue with this gimmick though is, unlike other attackers, there's no way for Anby's team to help her build her unique resource while she's off field, and how she has to discharge her thunder stacks feels restricting. When looking at her white thunder stacks, the game wants you to release all 3 stats consecutively in order to trigger an additional EX special. This damage from this attack stacks up quite a bit over time, which is good, but there isn't any variance on how it can be triggered. If the game allowed us a bit more flexibility to trigger her additional EX special, then this could have opened up Anby's team's rotations a bit more. This is because it would have allowed us to squeeze in additional damage throughout her rotation, kind of like how we're able to when Evelyn triggers her unique chain attack animation and you're able to quick swap into another character. But because we can't, or it isn't ideal, Anby's teams have to be constructed around her on-field presence a lot more. This is important to note because whenever Anby isn't on field, there's potentially a DPS loss for her team if they aren't able to provide her some form of off-field support, and especially if you commit to using a white thunder stack. This thought is even reinforced with her additional ability Voltage Surge, stating that in order for her squad to receive the 25% aftershock damage buff that it provides, she has to be the active character on field. This means when it comes to building teams for Anby, she heavily leans into units that provide off-field support, or at the very least short on-field rotations like Pokra, Trigger, Astra, and Nicole. This is why these units specifically are some of her most desired options, because they allow her to play the selfish playstyle she enjoys. Now this doesn't mean she can't work with other units like Chingy and Rina as well, because players are currently performing amazing with them right now. But because the new aftershock damage heavily impacts her team's overall performance, it's important to have units that actually take advantage of the buffs that she offers. This is a part of my core issue with the character. Even though you don't have to use units that take advantage of aftershock right now, it feels like that will change in the future and become increasingly noticeable in her performance when you lack those units over time. Now some of you are probably thinking, well, didn't we just get Pokra for free? And yes, we did. But due to her current performance as an A rank, it's easy to tell that she's a temporary option for players to use until they pull for a premium unit like Trigger. Now this here isn't a phenomenon at all, especially in HoYo games, because premium version of 4-star units are made all the time. But I think due to the amount of units that we have at this current moment with the new aftershock effect, isn't enough to warrant a unit like Anby to be as field hungry as she is. Her core kit wants you to lean into this off-field support meta so heavily, and I just feel like they could have made her a bit more flexible than what they have. Like, don't get me wrong, Anby is really strong, and I think the idea of having off-field support is a good thing, but I dislike this idea of only piloting one character for your team while the rest of them just perform on autoplay. To me, that removes the strong team dynamic that Zenless has established for a while now, and I think creating characters that lean into that too heavily can place them in a rough spot in the future if the game eventually moves away from that playstyle and form of team building. This ultimately makes me very hesitant with investing into a first iteration unit like Soldier Zero Anby, because I'm pretty sure they're going to make future units like her have this gimmick while being much more team oriented and flexible. Shoot, I even feel like we'll see this as soon as next patch with our upcoming new units Vivian and Hugo. If this does end up being the case, then the idea of Anby's kit could potentially hurt her in the long run, but I definitely do hope I'm wrong about this and I'm just overreacting at the moment. Now again, this isn't me saying that Anby is weak, because she's far from it. She's a very strong unit that if you want to pull for her, you definitely should, but she is a character that will require you to invest into the units that probably support her playstyle at some point. This means that if you're going for Anby, I think you definitely need to aim for Trigger or at least look for support units in the future that works with the Aftershock gimmick. This is because Aftershock is a vital piece of her kit and is what allows her to play the heavy on-field playstyle properly, so you're going to need units that help her do that the best. That's personally why I don't like the design approach that they went with for her kit, but I do somewhat understand the vision. I believe this one-woman army dynamic that she has seems really good right now and will be powerful for quite a bit. But again, due to her being the first iteration of this new Aftershock gimmick, she could be the first unit to falter if it evolves to a point where more units that have it require the field time that she needs. So if you plan to get Soldier Zero's Anby, or if you already pulled for her, just look out for more units, especially off-field, that'll work within the Aftershock meta. These characters will continue to push life into a unit like her and make her strong as we progress throughout the game. Now my overall thoughts and opinions about how she'll age could be wrong, and she could remain a peak unit for a very long time. I'm fine with that. I'd rather express how I feel about the unit just in case I have some players out there who are hesitant and are only looking to pull her for meta reasons alone. If you're one of those players, just keep some of the things I said in mind. This game has plenty of strong electric DPS options for you to pick from, so you don't need to commit to Anby if you don't want to. If you're a player that's been super excited for her and are happy that you pulled for her though, then continue to be happy with her. Anby is a strong unit right now with amazing ease of use, so I'm sure a lot of you will enjoy her. Just keep in mind the investment you might have to make in the future for her to increase her value. So basically, plan accordingly. But those are all my thoughts in regards to Soldier Zero Anby. Apologies if this video comes off as me hating on the character, because that's not my overall intention with this. I just always want to be transparent with how I feel about units and where the game is currently going. And at this very moment, I'm just not a huge fan of the ideas that Anby presents. But this doesn't mean that she's currently a bad unit at all. Time will just only tell with how well this idea of a one-woman army gimmick will go. And I hope it does pan out well, especially for the people that pull for her, because we don't want the value of a unit to go down just because they made some mistakes with the design decisions of a character's kit. With that being said though, let me know how you guys feel about Anby below, as well as my take on the character. I appreciate you guys and all your love and support. Remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new, and always remember to believe in a unit that believes in yourself. I'll see you guys in the next one.